I know I said it was coming, friends, but even I did not think it would get here the very next day. Today, we get to look at the SH Figuarts Mighty Morphin White Ranger. Oh. We've seen the Legacy Collection, friends. We've seen the Lightning Collection. Now, behold the glory that is SH Figuarts. In case you couldn't tell, I like me some SH Figuarts and Power Rangers, and the sculpt on this guy doesn't disappoint. I mean, what can I really say? They've got wrinkles in the boots a lot like Hasbro's Lightning Collection did, only they're subtle and they're perfect, and up where the spandex should be tight, it's tight, and yeah, it looks like the White Ranger. Everything that should be sculpted is sculpted. Now, he comes out of the package wearing his unmasked Tommy Oliver head, but in order to talk about the sculpt, I'm going to pop that off, and we're going to actually get his normal head on. Well, I guess that was a normal head, but his helmet is the look we really need to see him in, right? And the head sculpt on that guy, or should I say helmet sculpt, is pretty much 100% perfect, accurate to the show, no problems there. They didn't miss a beat. I appreciate the little subtle folds on the arms and the boots. They didn't go overboard like Hasbro did on theirs. If I had to find a complaint about the sculpt, it would be how the elbow articulation breaks up those gauntlets a little bit, but that is not an inaccurate thing. They nailed it on the sculpt on this guy. And the paint! They nailed that too. Everything looks clean. There's no real slop. I mean, on the Hasbro Lightning Collection one, they gave it a wash on the belt to get the paint in the little crevices, but here, it's in there and it's not a wash. They didn't have to dirty up the surface at all. And then my favorite thing about the paint, the pearlescent sheen on the white. It's not a flat white. It looks iridescent. It looks shiny. It looks perfect. The sculpt and the paint are essentially perfect. And now it's time to look at the articulation, which is just as equally immaculate and just as impressive. He has a ball joint at the head and at the base of the neck, which means he can look ridiculously far up and pretty darn far forward too. He also gets pretty good tilt. He can tilt his head side to side and all the way around, of course. And then the chest armor. The shoulder pads on the chest armor have hinges, so they can get out of the way for the articulation, basically, and he can move his arm all the way up. And they also hide a little butterfly joint in there, which is similar to what Hasbro had, but also different, because this is the type of butterfly joint that can rotate all the way around the socket, and it's like a totally separate piece. I don't really like that, but inside that butterfly joint, he has a ball joint shoulder, and it can, of course, swivel around. Not all the way around, but it can swivel as much as you need to. And he's got a double elbow here, and a double swivel around a ball wrist. It's very similar to what the Legacy Collection had, actually, where there's a ball in there, and you can hinge it one way, and you can swivel it and hinge it the other. Next, he has a diaphragm joint, gets a little side to side, good range forwards and back, and he has a swivel waist, so you can swivel him both ways, and the belt kind of is a separate piece and swivels around too. Moving down to the hips, they're on ball joints. They can go real far forward, not so much back unless you decide to lower them to get that extra range, and they can go out so far, and they can kind of swivel, but not all the way around. They're kind of limited by hitting the crotch piece there. So I'd appreciate some cuts, but at the same time, that'd break up the sculpt a little, and I think what we got is plenty good enough. Then he's got double knees down there, and hinge and pivot ankles, and then toe joints. So impressive, this articulation. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to have like full bicep swivels and thigh swivels, but the way it's been implemented here, it's not really necessary. My only real nitpick is the loose little weird butterfly joints that are separate pieces. I don't really like those. I'm not a big fan of those, but thankfully, they're just hidden most of the time. So not really a problem. If you mess them up, that is, they'd look kind of bad. But if you don't mess them up, they'd look pretty good on an unarmored Ranger. So excellent articulation all around. So this is, of course, the White Ranger in his packaging, and this is actually an English release, because if you'll notice, it says Power Rangers down there instead of Super Sentai or Koryo Sentai Zyuranger. And right there, while the light's hitting it good, we got this little holographic sticker that says Tamashii Nation's Quality. It's pretty hard to read that in any other lighting, because you can just see a bunch of triangles right now. Anyways, this packaging is actually a bit different than the old SH Figuarts for the 20th anniversary, because This one says 25 years up here. It says, you got the power at 25 years, and you see the red Mighty Morphin Ranger. So this is very much an English language Power Rangers release. Anyways, it's the same height as the old packaging, but significantly less wide, and I guess they have less real estate to show the name on the side here, which is why it's gone, and because they want more real estate to show the figure. But you still get the picture of the actual figure on the side there, just like you did on the old ones. And on this side, still get the name of the Ranger. And on the back, a bunch of pictures of the figure and the accessories, although this now has all this disclaimer stuff in Japanese. And on the side, picture of the figure again. Although, strangely, you'll notice on the 20th anniversary stuff, it has all these Mighty Morphin logos and everything. It does not say Mighty Morphin Power Rangers anywhere on this packaging. It simply says White Ranger in the back. Yeah, White Ranger. And it says Saban's Power Rangers, which a little weird considering this is very obviously the Mighty Morphin White Power Ranger, right? Anyways, let's open this guy up by taking the side flap out and just sliding the tray out. The inside has a card that's a gold insert, and there's these little instructions about detaching Saba from his hilt, I think, and swapping out alternate heads and hands, but it's all pretty self-explanatory, so you won't really need that. This gold card insert makes the whole package look really nice. Definitely some packaging you want to put on the shelf and hold on to. Very collector friendly. Inside we got two trays, one that covers the top half of the figure and one that covers the bottom, and just set that out, and there are no twist ties or anything. Things will just fall on out after you take that top protective tray out. So let's gently pull the White Ranger on out. And the same thing goes for his accessories. You can literally just dump them all out. So the packaging is very collector friendly, very professional, high grade-esque. Awesome packaging there. Now for accessories, the White Ranger comes with his alternate head that we saw before, although he was packaged wearing that, so I guess this helmet is actually the accessory part. And of course he comes with Saba, his sword. And Saba, who's a character of his own, gets his own accessory, which is an alternate extended blade. Then Tommy gets an alternate right hand for gripping Saba, another alternate right hand for gripping Saba even tighter, an alternate left hand for holding Saba, and another alternate left hand for making crazy Power Ranger poses. Last accessory he comes with is a holster for Saba, but he was actually packaged wearing it, although it just kind of pops off kind of easy, so I didn't mind taking it off for the review where I looked at the sculpt and the paint and all that, but it's not technically an accessory since it is attached, but you can detach it, so I could count as an accessory if you like. And just poke it onto his belt there. Stays in place pretty good. Now look at Saba up close. The detail on this is just awesome. Look at all the sculpted little lines and even little divots in the gold part there, and the colors. They got the gold there, the tiny gold right there, gold there on the coin and everything, of course. They even got the little red eyes on his face, and the black stripes up here on the silver part. It doesn't look super silvery. It looks kind of grayish, but I mean, the only detail they really missed is this section should be silver with gold little arrows, but that's super small. I don't really care. I'm glad I got it gold on both sides, at least, unlike Hasbro. And then the hilt here can pop off, and you can pop the other one on. Well, it's not a hilt, it's a blade, but it pops off at the hilt, and you got it extended, because that's what his sword did in the show. And in the 90s toys, it would extend from short little thing like that into the full blade. I know it wasn't much of an extension, but it was a fun little toy to, sell to kids. Anyways, you can pop this guy onto Tommy's little holster here, and this thing does not have a little flap in it, and it's not all oversized, and you can't just plug it on down. So another good thing about the hilt and the sword popping apart is you can just slide this part up here, and then reattach it, and then reattach the holster to the hip, and guess what? You didn't have to stretch any holster bits to get Saba onto that hip, but you do have to push that holster pretty hard onto his belt. But it looks amazing once it's on there. Anyways, let's get it in his hand. And to do that, of course, we're going to have to take a look at the alternate hands, because he just comes packaged wearing fists. So we'll pop these out, and wow, that was really easy, actually. Pop the right one out, too. And let's get his gripping hands on. It's not like super hard to pop on, but the ball joint moves. Ah, got it. So that makes it a little tricky. And this is the same exact sculpt as the right hand, except it's a left hand, obviously. So we'll see how Saba fits in both of these. Yep, looks like it slides in there pretty easily. Can hold it just fine in his right hand, and since the left hand has the same exact sculpt, slides in just as easily. Doesn't have the tightest of grip on it, but I mean, you gotta push it in a little bit, and then it'll be in there. Very nice. Let's look at the other hands now. This other right hand has a much tighter grip. I don't know how we're even gonna get Saba in there, really. Okay, so it's got a much tighter grip. I guess you gotta stretch it a little, and yep, then it's in there. And the other hand isn't for holding anything, it's just for doing stuff like that. Oh man, this figure looks so good. Really, really cool, I think. I'm really glad they included this little posing hand, because the Rangers did that on the show all the time. Now, last thing we really got to take a look at up close are those two head choices. So the helmet, pretty clean on the paint, pretty perfect on the sculpt, no complaints. The Tommy Oliver head, however, well, let's see if we can focus on it up close, because I think you can see a little bit of what I'm talking about. In person, the closer you get, it's even worse, because they digitally printed his face on, and yeah, like look around the eyes, just a bunch of black dots everywhere. There's little black dots on his forehead there, and yeah, it doesn't look so good. It looks like a fuzzy, grainy digital photograph, honestly. Although I will say, the further away you get, the better that head sculpt looks, although that doesn't really sound very good. Anyways, this is definitely Tommy in his White Ranger days. You can tell by the length of his hair, and they got a little earring he'd wear, and I can see what they're going for with the face. It definitely does look like him, although it looks like a fuzzy, grainy little photo of him with a bunch of black dots on it. So I guess what I'm saying is, it does bear resemblance. The sculpt is good. It's the paint application with the little dots everywhere I don't really like. I mean, it looks kind of good on the lips, I think, even though it's kind of fuzzy. But the eyes, not really. I don't really think so. But I'm still really glad they included it. Awesome accessories all around, even if the human head is not the best. Time to look at the scale. The White Ranger stands at about 5 3/4 inches tall. As always, here he is with my 6-inch DCUC and Marvel Legends Batman and Spider-Man, and I think he's a little too short, honestly, because these guys are done in more of a 6.5-inch scale, and SH Figuarts are in true 6-inch scale. Next up, here he is with the Legacy Collection White Ranger and the Lightning Collection White Ranger. Now, as to which of these is the best, well, I think it would take a whole video to properly compare all three, but the SH Figuarts is definitely looking good and standing out from the crowd here. But if you want him not stand out and instead fit in, he definitely pulls that off with the SH Figuarts Green Ranger. They're in perfect scale, actually. You could totally buy these being the same guy in a different costume, which they sort of are in the Power Rangers show, at least. I ultimately really love this figure, friends. It's not perfect, but it is pretty darn close. I mean, that sculpt is really good on the body and the helmet, and that pearlescent sheen on the paint job, that white pearl color. Oh man, that alone almost makes it all worth it. But he does have some problems. That head sculpt on the unmasked head is just not good, and those butterfly joints inside there are kind of wonky, honestly. I don't really like how they work. I wish they'd stayed in place. And he probably won't be in scale with too much stuff in your collection, but hey, at this rate, just go out and buy some more true 6-inch scale stuff like more SH Figuarts. Because bad unmasked head sculpts aside, I really want to see them do more Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in this exact style. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.